So Standard 3, this is the first standard of Unit 2. We said Unit 1 was Standard 1 and 2 with the foundations of the colonies breaking up into 3 regions, the transatlantic trade, all that information. And now we connect Standard 2 by leaving off Standard 2 with the Great Awakening. And the Great Awakening, we said, was kind of that initial seed of questioning of, is this the best way to do to have the Church of England in charge of us, and that seed was kind of branching out to, is this the best overall government setup for us? So Standard 3 picks up with the French and Indian War. The information from the French and Indian War is mainly focused on how it connects to the American Revolution or lays the groundwork for the American Revolution. And so what happens in the French and Indian War, you have the French and the Indians fighting the British and the colonists, and those are the two groups. In the end, the French, based off of the Treaty of Paris of 1763, are removed from the territory that they had in the New World, and because of that, it ends up leading to the colonists feeling a little more comfortable and feeling like, okay, now we can have that territory on the Ohio River Valley and be able to move there and expand, and hopefully the British government will continue to support that. However, the Proclamation of 1763 was King George's attempt to pacify the Native Americans that are still in the land that they've been in. So it's their land, they've been there, and so now King George is kind of like, well, the French are removed, but what about the Native Americans? What are we going to do? So the Proclamation of 1763 told the colonists that they cannot move past the Appalachian Mountains. And so this becomes a point of contention because the colonists are wondering why they just fought or helped the British fight to remove the French. If now that land that was hopefully going to connect the Ohio River to the Mississippi and help with trade as well as expansion, if it can't even be settled. So to top that all off, the British are now looking for a way to pay back the war debt. And so that war debt has piled up from years of war. And so it seems only reasonable to ask for the colonists to help pay some of that war debt back since it was for their protection. So the Stamp Act is instituted, and that is just an initial tax that puts a tax on the documents that would be official. So, paper documents and newspapers. And that was something that it was, okay, so now we can't go past the Appalachian Mountains and you're taxing us and we don't have any representation. So you can see the tensions rising here as Standard 3 goes on with the causes of the American Revolution. The Intolerable Acts, as they're called, were acts that were passed by the British in response to the Boston Tea Party. So they closed the port of Boston. They made it to where you had a royal governor in Massachusetts, and the Quartering Act was extended to where the British soldiers would have to be housed and fed and taken care of by the colonists, as well as British officers who were accused of a crime. They would not be tried in the colonies or where it was committed. They would be sent back to Great Britain and be tried, and obviously probably a more favorable outcome for those British officers. So all of these combined would be known historically as the Intolerable Acts, something that they would not tolerate. They felt like it was just stripping them of any rights that they had. And groups that formed in response to this anger that was building up would be the Sons of Liberty and the Daughters of Liberty. So Samuel Adams founded the Sons of Liberty. They're the ones largely responsible for the Boston Tea Party, for tar and feathering tax collectors. And then you also have the Daughters of Liberty, who would be setting up boycotts and just ways they would have their own looms at their homes so they didn't have to purchase from the British. So it was just different ways of showing that they were not pleased with what was going on. The last portion of this standard is Thomas Paine's Common Sense, and we said that Common Sense was written in a form that everyone could understand and trying to generate that support needed to get this revolution off the ground. So it was just common sense that we need to rebel from the British.